Pues buenas tardes, bienvenidos una vez más al curso de religiones comparadas, las tres grandes religiones monoteístas. Agradecemos a los que están en línea también y les queremos dar la bienvenida para esta ocasión a la doctora Yogani Govender, que nos va a estar hablando sobre la tercera religión más grande en el mundo en este momento, que es el hinduismo. Antes de eso, voy a dar algunas instrucciones para entonces darle la oportunidad a Yogani que pueda tener una conversación con nosotros. Para efectos de la clase, es importante que todos se identifiquen. ¿Todos están identificados? Sí. Saludos, San Ignacio. Qué bueno. Qué bueno. Bienvenida. Sí.
Bueno, porque llegó un poco tarde, ¿sabes? Hubiese llegado hace 3 minutos y no era muy querido.
Tranquila.
Continuamos.
Bueno, pues seguimos aquí. Así que, si todos están identificados, les recordamos que la importancia de hacer sus evaluaciones. Al final, esas evaluaciones, Lizzy, llegan por el chat.
Sí, se las estoy enviando.
Por el chat, que si pueden llenarla.
Yo la verdad que la última no la envié en el correo electrónico, pero la envío.
Ok, pero entonces ahí sería hablar con Estelí para que haga esos envíos. Quiero informarles, compañeros, que aunque Lizzy está con nosotros hoy, ella ya no está trabajando en la Universidad Interamericana. Ella está apoyando ahora como oyente del curso y dando la mano en esto de lo que se incorpora la nueva directora, se llama Estelí Rivera. Así que ella se puso, no puede estar con nosotros hoy, pero está aquí acompañando y está Carlos también.
Está invitado al Conference Room también.
Está invitada, claro que sí. después te explicamos, Lizzy. Bien. Un detallito importante antes de dar la oportunidad a Yogani, y es que nosotros hemos enmarcado esta aventura que hemos tenido por estos meses dentro de la idea de comprensión del hecho religioso, cómo el ser humano va comprendiendo el hecho religioso, la experiencia religiosa, a partir de estas tres grandes religiones. Juan Martín Velasco, un sacerdote y filósofo católico, murió en el 2020, parece que fue. Él trabajó mucho el tema de la fenomenología de la religión. Él habla, su libro se llama El hombre y la religión. Pueden buscar ese libro que es fascinante. Él resalta o reseña una idea de otro teólogo alemán luterano contemporáneo como Ortega y Gasset, siglo XIX, siglo XX, donde habla sobre lo que llama el mysterium tremendum o el misterio tremendo. Es esta idea de cómo el ser humano a través de toda la historia se ha enfrentado al dilema de lo trascendente. El primer punto que él trae es la idea de verse frente a eso que no conoce y establecer una conceptualización de lo divino a partir de su realidad humana, donde llega un momento que se da un elemento por decirlo de alguna manera, de preciosura, de algo precioso. Yo no sé si ustedes recuerdan que yo les hablé, pero bien por encimita, de una experiencia sobrenatural en la vida de mis padres. ¿Se acuerdan? Yo les mencioné, bueno, yo no se los mencioné, pero eso fue un evento antes de que yo naciera. Yo tengo 13, somos 3, tengo 2 hermanos mayores, yo soy el menor. Ellos ya habían nacido. Mis padres estaban en San Sebastián cuando no había, imagínate, yo nací en el 62, eso tuvo que haber sido en el 69 o el 70. No había los expresos que hay hoy. Él de madrugada sale con mi madre en un volky, se montan a sus hijos y se van de la casa donde están. Están en esas calles que habían llenas de curvas y oscuras, y de momento ven un rostro blanco, una figura, un ser humano, y para no atropellarlo, da un viraje inmediato y frena. Cuando él mira para atrás, porque pensaba que le había dado a esa persona, no ve a nadie, y lo que ve es un Cristo. Entonces, que si ellos no veían esa persona, pues se van a ir por el riesgo. Y se van a morir todos, yo no habría nacido. Cuando yo escucho esa historia, y lo he escuchado varias veces en mi vida, y sería la historia de muchos de ustedes, si nos vamos a contar, cada uno tiene una historia de vida donde ha experimentado algo eso es sobrenatural. Eso nos hace sentir, esta es mi manera de verlo, de forma especial. No lo comprendemos del todo, pero ese misterio está y nos hace sentir especial. A veces lo catalogamos a riesgo de arbitrariedad, porque cuando se trata de definir las cosas, somos arbitrarios, pero está. Así que Martín Velasco y Don Poto tratan de llevar eso, esto es mucho más amplio, pero solamente para comprender que nosotros nos hemos acercado a este tema desde esa óptica de apertura a lo trascendente. Y en el caso de hoy, vamos a movernos geográficamente un poquito más hacia el este, hacia India. Nos hemos quedado en Oriente Medio hacia Occidente, ¿verdad? Que fue donde ocurrió primero judaísmo de los caldeos hacia el este, toda esa área de Mesopotamia, y cómo va corriendo cristianismo, islam, todo eso movido por las colonizaciones, por las guerras, por la historia. Ustedes saben eso mejor que yo. Pero nos vamos a mover ahora para el otro lado del mundo, donde también había una religión de probablemente 3.000 o 4.000 o 5.000 millones de años antes de Jesucristo, ¿verdad? Hay varias versiones ahí. Y que es un complejo de religiones. Y es lo que llamamos hinduismo. La decana Yogani Joven, del que es hindú, es parte de esta universidad. Ella va a compartir con nosotros algunas nociones generales que nos permitan a nosotros caer en tiempo para lo que se va a estudiar oportunamente. ¿Está bien? Bueno, pues Yogani, bienvenida.
A todos en línea conectados allá. It was said in Spanish because it's going to be difficult to explain. Gracias, Pedro, por la invitación, ¿verdad? Es una placer a mí a compartir mi experiencia, mi creencia como hindú. Y trae mi mamá porque ella es mi gurú, mi maestra de religión. Yo sé que mucha gente tiene la confusión de que es un hindú, el idioma hindi, y que es un indian, ¿verdad? Vamos a aclarar. Personas que nacen en India, el país India, son Indians, no taínos, Indians. Entonces Colombia se confundió, los taínos le llamaban Indians, actualmente no son Indians. Son personas que que nacen en India son Indians. Y yo viene de descendencias de Indians. Pero en India hay cristianos, hay hindús, hay budas, hay de todas religiones, right? Y tenemos un idioma que se llama hindi. Ese es el idioma oficial del país de India. Pero dentro del país, yo nací en la parte sur, mi tatarabuelo, y hablan tamil. Es otro idioma también, pero todo tiene raíces de sánscrito. Wow. Ese es el idioma de 4.000 años antes del nacimiento de Cristo existía. Toda esa raíz de esos idiomas salen de esta raíz hasta el árabe. Y poco a poco, a través del tiempo, empezar a dividir. Entre el norte de India y Pakistán, Afganistán, Irán, Irak, todo es ahora un mundo moderno, nuevo, ¿verdad? Antes era el Indus Valley, ¿verdad? Usted recuerda de Indus Valley, sí. De ahí empieza el hinduismo, es la religión, ¿verdad? Claro. India, Indians. Sobre el idioma hindi, que es el idioma oficial de India. Dentro de India hay varios otros idiomas, 39.000 idiomas, algo así. Es enorme. Yo vine de mi tatarabuelo, del parte sur, que habla tamil. Mi idioma también tiene 26 letreros, pero tiene como 309 letreros en división, como A. ¿Ves? Wow. Se dividen más y más y más. Es muy complejo, es un idioma muy complejo. Yo aprendí con mi abuelo a escribir y escuchar, pero no hablan. Por la diáspora, nosotros, mis papás hablan todavía el idioma, porque hablaba con mis abuelos. Mis abuelos hablaban con mis tatarabuelos, pero en Sudáfrica, donde nació, era para idioma, hablar inglés era progreso. progreso en el país como tal. Solo lo echar los idiomas de nosotros al lado para promover que nosotros hablamos en inglés. Pero nosotros entiendo bien, porque todo el periódico, las películas, las canciones, la bangra, la baile, todo viene de mi madre de India. So, todavía tenemos una conexión bien fuerte con el país India. Pero yo siempre digo, yo soy indo-afro-boricua. Indo porque mi raíz es de India, afro porque nació en Sudáfrica y boricua porque vivo aquí 22 años. Tengo esa mezcla, ¿verdad? Soy una mujer bien diversa. So, vamos a regresar a la idioma. La idioma es hinduismo, es una universal belief system. No tenemos una línea en particular, no tenemos un scripture o un libro en particular. Tenemos varios libros de cuentos actualmente. No existen como un dios en particular, ¿verdad? So, ese es el sistema, es bien universal. Creemos mucho en las planetas, en alimentos del planeta, en energía de las planetas, del sol, de la luna. Muchos rituales es basado de eso. Por ejemplo, mi nombre Giovanni es basado en el momento que nació, el tiempo y dónde estaban los planetas en ese momento. So, los gurús de nosotros tienen libros antiguos que usan esa información para ver el reloj de planetas y lo pide mi padre o lo entrega a mi padre los letreros de mi nombre. So, yo soy gemela, mis letreros de mi nombre era Y-O-Y-O, mi gemela se llama Yosni y yo soy Giovanni, con yo, ¿verdad? Todos los nenes que nacen en la religión hindú tienen ese nombre espiritual, es basado del alimento del planeta. So, no sé si ustedes practicaron o escucharon gurús de yoga en Puerto Rico, puertorriqueños, que tienen nombre espiritual, ¿verdad? Esa es donde surge el nombre espiritual. So, es bien con la naturaleza. Astronomy, not astrology, es bien es parte de mi religión. Desde el momento que tú naces hasta que mueren, el gurú, el brahmin, puede leer su libro, como like palm reading. Y decir a ti que en esta época de tu año tú vas a tener dificultad de economía o tú vas a tener dificultad de salud. ¿Y cómo ellos saben? Porque es educado en astronomy. That's what they believe. So por ejemplo, my parents recently went to the Brahmin and they told my mother and my father that when my father's 86 years old, he's going to pass some health issue. But if he passes that issue, he'll live till 102, mommy. How long will he live? 105 years. So es una, and it's very,
He lived to 105.
and 5 years. So they do it like if from the time the baby is born, en cada 5 o 10 años, lo llevan the baby to the Brahmin and they read the book. They read the book. So it's very ritually based. Es un religion bien ritually based. But also we use the luna. We do rituals to the moon. Every single morning, every Hindu prays to the sun because it's the center of our universe that controls the planet. So if you pray to the sun, it's going to control your life. So that's how religion. That's how we believe in religion. So as Pedro mentioned, it's one of the oldest religions that had been documented that we know of. And while you guys were doing the rosary, I went into internet quickly because we have the same rosary. We do the same things. We use it for meditation. So I have a book that we use as a guide. And inside that book, we have 108 shantis, 100 oraciones that we use the rosary to say also. And it guides us in our meditation during our chanting. So there's a lot of things, a lot of similarities between Hinduism and other religions that came after it, that is passed on by rituals and traditions. So Hinduism is not a book. We don't follow a book. We don't follow, like there's no 10
Mandamientos.
No, it doesn't exist in Hinduism, right? So there's no one prophet, like there's no Muhammad or there's no Jesus Cristo, there's no one prophet. We have the Trinity though. El Padre, el Hijo, el Espíritu Santo. We have Shiva, Brahman, and Vishnu. So that's our Trinity, it's the male counterparts. We have females also. So Shiva is the So Brahma is the creator. We believe that he's the God that created the universe, created the planets, created gravity, he's the creator, Brahma. Vishnu is the preserver, keeps everything in order, the forces of nature in order.
How do you pronounce it?
Vishnu, Brahma, Vishnu, and Shiva. And Shiva, they call him the destroyer. He's the one that causes the chaos on the planets and in the universe, right? So we have this trinity. So we still have, very similar to Christianity, the three parts, right? And they're always constantly moving with each other, right? So that we have the creator, the preserver, and the destroyer. But the good thing about Hinduism is that they also have the female counterpart, right? Even though I will talk about the female oppression later on. But so we have the female, and the super goddess is Parvati. And from her comes the other goddesses, Saraswati, Durga, Kali. So it's Hindus, like you guys have saints, right? You'll have Jesus Christo and his followers, the saints. Hinduism has the same things. It's just called differently, and it's for different purposes, right? I think it's like St. John also for like the healing. It's similar. So it's not very different from Christianity. The difference between Hinduism and Christianity is you all have a book that guides you. And we have it's called the Bhagavad Gita. It's a book of a collection of philosophies, a collection of stories from philosophers, from educated people, right? That have been able to tell stories for specific human attributes, like stories to talk about greed, stories to talk about being honest, stories to talk about like do no harm to others. So those stories have been passed down from teacher to pupil for generations. I didn't learn Hinduism from a book. I learned from my parents and my grandparents. So all the things that they taught me, I will pass on to my son. And I just passed it on a book that somebody, a Hindu child born in the United States, was finding it hard to understand Hinduism because his father said, you have to do this, you have to do this, you get up in the morning and pray to the sun. And so he found it hard, he struggled to grasp what was Hinduism. So he made this book, and it's quite easy to understand what is Hinduism. So I got it for my son, when my son was very little, so he could understand Hinduism. So it's very important that Hinduism is each person's, individual person's understanding of religion. It's not a book, it's not different, like a specific set of rules that Hindus practice. But most importantly, it's the interpretation of their guru. So that's where there's a division between males and females, right? Integrated or integral into the Hindu culture that we know today is this thing called the caste system. So I don't know if you'll know about this. It's a tradition. It's not part of the Hindu religion per se. It's just an interpretation of somebody historically that said women are different from males, and that some people are more equal than others. Similar to the history of humanity, right? And that becomes integrated into the Hindu religion. And basically,
no se origina entonces en
no,
el hinduismo. ¿Y dónde se origina?
en India.
En el
En India,
sistema.
en la cultura,
Okay,
la parte cultural, no la parte religiosa.
Algo similar a lo que discutimos con los humanos,
Yes,
Sí.
que es
Yeah.
religión y que es la cultura.
la cultura. En la cultura es ese sistema de casta donde las personas que ellos reclaman, las personas que tienen templos, son la casta más alto porque es más cerca al Dios. The Brahman, so they call them the Brahmins, and they would be the owners of the temples. They would be owners of the place of worship, and they were the highest caste. And so therefore you could treat everybody as a low caste. And through time that evolves from just being religious to what your trade was. So somebody that cleaned the bathroom, que limpiara el baño, era un casta de bajo. Una persona que limpiaba el templo, trabajaba en canciones, él era el casta más alto porque estaba más cerca de Dios. Y lo trataron de lo más malo. Y ahí surge también la división entre mujeres y hombres. Y que lo tratan mujeres que no tenían derecho a la tierra, ni a vestirse como lo tiene gana, tenían muchas restricciones como tapar el pelo, como un poquito como Arabic, Muslim religion, ¿verdad?
Pero
Es
que
cultural.
pero que es patente en todas las otras expresiones
Exacto.
religiosas también.
Exacto. So, es algo cultural, no es so matriarcal versus patriarcal. Exactly. So Hinduism is not about caste, It's not about oppressing women. Es una religión, ¿verdad? Bien diverso, se aceptan, ¿verdad? Cualquier interpretación tuya. No es interpretación de un padre o un libro, no, es su propia interpretación. La enfoque de hinduismo no es que tú practicas, no es que tú, like you follow a book, it's what you do, la acción. No sé, la costumbre, cuando tú encuentras un hindú en cualquier parte del mundo, son bien welcoming, trata de vivir su vida bien honesto. It's what you do. It's not what you show to society, how much tithes you give, how much money you give, how much donation. No, it's how you live your life. That's very important. Pedro can tell you how I live my life. Very transparent, very honest, con una alto ética. ¿Verdad? No es material, nothing material. Like you don't have to have a car, you don't have to have a big house, or you have the big donations. No, you have to show by action. That's the core of Hinduism, of the Hindu religion. ¿Verdad? One of the things that we talk about a lot in our Hindu religion is, there's a saying, it's called Mada Pida Guru Deva. So Mada is your mother. Your mother is your God. The first person in life that you should give, respetar. Mother, father is father. Guru is your teacher. Before God. So you should show. So we live by that philosophy. It's very important in Hindu families. That's why education, I don't know if you know, like there's lots of doctors, engineers, software engineers. In the United States, many of them are Hindus. Because in Hindus, in our religion, we treat your mother, your father, and your teacher more importantly than God.
More important
Than God. Mada Pida Guru Deva. It's more. My mother can tell you that. Like that's been our philosophy in our house. Our books have been like, we cannot put books on the floor. We cannot throw books around. It's like more important than like an idol or a statue or something in our house. Yes.
Y entonces, usted dijo también que las castas separaban a los sexos entre varones y damas,
Sí.
pero la mujer es la que tiene la primacía.
Sí. That's what I'm saying, that Hinduism, the original text and the original tradition of Hinduism, everything was equal. We have male consort and a female consort. We have Shiva with Parvati. You see, it's always been that way, but culturally that started to change. Remember, it's the interpretation of your guru. So if your guru had that mentality, that women are oppressed, that women no tiene valor en la sociedad, el persona que limpia caca no tiene valor, pues esas informaciones pasan a la estudiante y causan el cambio la integración de religión con cultura. Y se pasan generación a través de generación.
Yo entendí que usted dijo que en orden de jerarquía, primero es la mamá.
De nosotros, sí, en la religión, absolutamente, sí. Su mamá, porque su mamá da vida.
Y en las otras religiones es matriarcal.
Sí.
Pero se podría decir entonces, a base de lo que dice Nino, que hay una Hinduism adhere to a patriarchal perspective, or matriarchal, or none of the above.
No, right now the modern Hinduism is patriarchal.
Okay.
Because
of what you have to say.
Because historically they started to change religion, integrating these cultural beliefs.
Sí.
Okay.
So modern Hinduism right now, the way they treat women in Hinduism, the way they treat females in Hinduism, it become a religious thing, but it actually is not. When you go back to the old scriptures, you see that Hindus were never vegetarians. No. There's like old artwork, old scriptures that Hindus are eating fish, hunting deer.
Wow.
Yeah. And so where does this Hinduism come from? It's like talking about cleanliness, or the Brahmin caste, like say people that eat meat are heathens. So it's like this mixture of culture versus a means of control. A means of making me better than somebody else. So when you go to old Hindu scripture, they don't talk about vegetarianism. They don't talk about women being different from males. They don't talk about the caste system. It doesn't exist. It's just one universal system where we talk about energies, we talk about the universe and the planets. And the deities, our gods, are a human or an earthly form of that energy. See, it's like, so it's not, it's like universal energy that exists. And then all the traditions and the stories, like we talk about Muruga comes to planet Earth or Krishna comes to planet Earth to highlight a specific, the 7 greed sins. So he comes, one of the stories about Muruga is that, or Krishna, he comes to planet Earth because there was this little boy that was like a crying wolf. And so he tries to teach this boy not to do that. So like different stories come down as part of our traditions to teach us different things, different human values. Let's put it that way. See? So it's so the deities that we pray to are the human manifestations of that universal energy. Right? So Lord Shiva is we said is the destroyer. And so, for example, just like how you have the saints, we have the same. For example, if I'm going to a very financial patch, I will pray to the goddess Lakshmi because it's believed that she will bring you prosperity. Maybe not money, but prosperity. The same with if somebody does harm to me, I pray to the goddess Kali because she's the goddess of revenge. So like for specific things, you pray to a saint. You want good health, you do a saint. So many similarities. You do pilgrimage, like when you go to La Camino de Santiago,
Right.
we do the exact same thing. We have the same thing we do. Instead of carrying the cross, we carry a bowl with milk and flowers, and it's usually in March. Semana Santa for us is super important. That's what we do penance. So it's so many similarities that come down to tradition. So basically, it's human being recognizing that they've sinned, and then you do penance either through doing an offering to God or you do this work. And so there's like lots of things. If somebody's ill, somebody's really, that's.
He oído hablar de que hay muchas castas en India, no sé cuántas,
Hay muchos.
muchas. Y usted ahora me ha explicado aquí que la casta superior es la que está más cerca de Dios,
Sí.
es la que está en los templos, cosas así. Una madre o un padre puede limpiar la caca del hijo, pero eso no lo hace bajar de casta.
No, un brahmin, un casta de brahmin, la más alta, no hacen eso. Ellos tienen servientes para eso. No. Hasta el nivel de cuando una mujer es en menstruación. ¿No? En menstruación, ella no puede entrar al templo, no puede entrar a la casa de esa señora. A ese nivel. Como se divide la mujer, la pongo como sucia. No, you can't. Así. And that's what they teach Hindus in generations afterwards.
¿Y cuántas castas hay?
No sé, es por el trade. ¿Cómo se dice trade? ¿Qué tú laborar? ¿Qué tú haces? Por ejemplo,
Profesión, la
carpenter,
profesión.
tree cutter, teacher, engineer, todo es castas. Entonces, se distingue la casta por el apellido de las jóvenes, del familia. So, esa
Por el
casta,
apellido.
por el apellido. ¿Qué pasa? India trató a modernizarse, ¿verdad? Y eliminó el apellido, the last name, the surname. So I'm like a governor, but I'm not a high caste. Like Nataraja, like Pillai, no, Nataraja, well, give me a high caste, I am. Brahmin, those are like high caste. I'm a governor, I'm like in the middle. And then like Pillai, Chetty, all those last names go like lower, low caste.
He visto mucho apellido, sí.
Sí,
Sí.
Singh, S-I-N-G,
Sí.
S-I-N-G-H, Singh. Sí,
Esa es una
esa es un casta. Un
o
casta.
una región.
No, es un casta. Es un casta. India está tratando de eliminar que le ponga el nombre de tu papá as your last name. Because immediately you say governor, ya saben, tú es un casta bajita. Tú say Nataraja, un casta alta. En Sudáfrica casi no practican mucho. En India todavía.
Can they change from one caste to another?
You cannot.
What? That's it.
That's it.
For life, that's it.
That's the problem because of your last name. Nace de tu papá y solamente viene el nombre de tu papá. No lo usa de su mamá tampoco. That's how bad it is. Yes. Yes, Elisa.
Doctora, tengo dos
Preguntas,
preguntas.
okay.
Una es que si creen en la resurrección, vida eterna y en un Dios soberano. Esa es la primera.
Okay. No, we don't believe in un Dios supremo como tal. No. Hindús no. Pero como ustedes de Protestants, Catholic, Evangelists, nosotros también tenemos las favoritas. Por ejemplo, en mi familia nosotros somos Shivites. We are Shiva believers. We believe in Shiva. We do all our rituals based on Shiva. We have a book that my mother brought that's on Shiva's teachings. Then there's a Hare Krishna. They believe on Krishna's teachings, right? Then there's divine life. Then there's Sai Baba. There's like different sects.
Yeah.
With that we can choose. As a Hindu, we can choose. We don't have like one book that we have to follow. We can choose what we want to believe in and how we want to manifestate that beliefs. We don't have a specific receta. So there's no. That's why Hindus are very tolerant. There's never been what was the Christian crusades? No, there's never been a Hindu crusades. Never. It's very welcoming to all beliefs. And then the second, yes, about reincarnation. Yes, yes. So Hindus don't believe in eternal death. You just get born again. That's called reincarnation. It's a cyclic religion, right? We believe that if you do good, as you say, Hindus are how you act. So if you do good, you'll be born again as another human. If you do bad, then you can be born again as anything else.
But it's just a simple belief, or actually do you have any, not a proof, but some knowledge of people being reincarnated?
Yes, so people so there's proof. If you do, there's in-depth studies of the psychological studies where people come back and they say like, I'm born again. Like I know that I was from this village or from this town or from this epocha, from this decade. And they've documented it. It's inexplicable. Nobody can explain why these people have these memories and they bring it back with them. But there's evidence to this effect.
Are they in any way kind of make the hierarchy of Hinduism, or like the Dalai Lama, for example, they choose one who is reincarnated. When you find someone like that, what do you do with her?
It's not like, so I think the Dalai Lama, they give them a higher status, but in Hindus, no. We don't, like many people that I don't know what I was in my previous life. So it's very rare that you would know. You don't know. You don't know it's very rare that people would come forward and say that, yes, they believe that they were born again. And they're just normal citizens. Nobody gives them like a status. However, I must state that, so in India, there was this man, a human being, that he believed he was a prophet, and his name is Sai Baba, right? And for decades, for generations and generations, people worshipped him as a prophet. And after his death, there were revelations that he was actually a fake. A fake.
La vaca, ¿por qué o la res, por qué se respetan tanto?
Okay, that's one question. So I'm going to ask the question, then we go to Lizzie. Okay, so the symbol of the cow. So in the Hindu religion, we think the cow is your mother. Okay, the dan leche, dan protección, calor. We don't eat beef because of this. Hindus, it's a ritual, no es el religión. Es un symbolism, de madre. So the cows always give you milk, always have sustenance. So that's why we don't eat cow. But it's not to do with religion. It's to do with the symbolism of what the cow is. And in a lot of traditional stories that came down from our grandparents, the cow was what brought God to earth. Like he was mode of transport. So if you see a lot of photos of Hindu gods, you'll see always a cow in the foot of and the elephant also is a representation of like extreme power. Like, so we pray to Ganesha, the god of Ganesha, the monkey god, the elephant god, because it's this big animal that can destroy any blockage in your pathway. So before we have any activity, we pray to Ganesha so that it can open the way, or she can open the way for us for that activity. Like how we have invocation here. Que le dan like that. So it's a lot of symbolisms rather than anything else. So the next question online.
Dice, ¿cuál es el concepto del matrimonio?
El matrimonio. Okay, so I don't know basically what he means by concept, but so weddings for us is just the joining of the female and the male for procreation, right? But it also has a lot of cultural negativity to it. So historically, the Hindus would do arranged marriages. So the families would choose the children, and they would choose at very young age. Why? Because they want to maintain the caste system. So children from the same caste will get married and maintain that upper como
Class, yeah.
classism, right? It happens in everywhere. Rich children marry rich children. Their parents don't want you, like West Side Story. No quiere el otro lado.
I wouldn't know, right? I wouldn't know.
You wouldn't know.
Sarcasm.
Right,
Now, the question is, if you're being reincarnated
right.
and you're trying to protect the castes
Yes.
by intermarriage and whatnot and arranged marriages, are you guaranteed that you're gonna be reborn into that caste? No.
There's no scriptures, nothing says that. You just say you are reborn again. You don't know. So there's a lot, like I as a Hindu question then, why are people born poor? And why is there so much, like why do they suffer so much? You know, because it's like a contradiction. I'm a scientist, it's really hard to bring this two together. But I've been taught this from very long age. Like we believe in karma, we believe in reincarnation. So these are strong beliefs that come from our religion, right? And it's to do with the universe and the energies that exist. So scientists for years and years and years have been trying to teleport, have been trying to explain all these Hindu traditions or scriptures that they exist in writing. You know, that very, very old writing that says that there's reincarnation. And they move that down. Maybe it's a way to put a fear in us, like to say, okay, you do good now, you'll be born again as a better person. You won't be born in suffering. Who wants to be born in suffering? You know?
It might be offensive.
No. This is a philosophical discussion.
But after all this workout, purification,
Yes,
why do we still have bad people in the society?
exactly. That's inexplicable, right?
¿Qué cosa es el karma?
El karma. So
This,
yeah, it's destiny. So basically you have by your acts, you open the good energy to give you good karma. It's a destiny. You open the path to good in your life. So you do good acts as a Hindu, you have good karma. If you do bad acts, then you have bad karma. You end up, your destiny is negative, right? And so something that's very interesting, when I was very young, so we have like, I don't know if you'll have these rituals of like ojo malo.
Yeah.
So we have that too, right? So when babies are born and they read the book, they will tell their parents that they had an ojo malo, and you have to do a tradition, a ritual for 9 days, you have to fast, and they tie a string around 9 stones, right? They go around 9 stones for 9 days. You have to fast, you have to do un ritual para cambiar esa energía. So mala ojo, like bad energy, bad karma to good karma. And if you believe that, people believe that, and they have good energy and they do good. And so the whole basis of being a Hindu is the acts that you perform. And you're always doing good, well, you do bad things too. People do bad things too, based on your karma. And the ultimate goal is to be reborn, right? Yes.
Giovanni, nosotros bendecimos para que sea mejor la persona
Yes.
de lo que es.
Yes.
O sea que hay cierta
Similarities, absolutely. But like a baptismo, or I don't know what other things other religions do. In evangelism, there's baptismo. Yeah.
Sí,
También.
No,
Yeah.
cristianity.
So why do we do this? Like, so the baby that's born should be innocent and pure, right? But we still do some ceremony like the christening and un purificación. The same thing happens in Hinduism. The baby is born in the Tamil culture. We actually give life. So we cut a chicken para asegurar que esa bebé sobrevive. Like we give life to the goddess of Kali. Right? So we ask goddess of Kali to forgive this this soul that came into this baby for whatever past wrongdoings that it has done. And we're giving you this life to ensure that this life continues, this baby's life, right? And in the Hindi, the Northern Indian culture, North Indian, the Hindi speaking Hindus, they do a 40-day ceremony. We normally do it after when we do Kanima prayers, like 3 months when the baby's born,
90.
or the 9th day the baby's born. But the Hindis on the northern part of India, they do it 40 days after the baby's born. So it's like differently, but the same ritual. It's a cleansing ritual. Every momentous moment in your life, whether you're a boy or a girl in the Hindu culture, there's a ceremony to celebrate that. And basically in that ceremony, they purify you. They purify you either with coconut water or with turmeric, you know, turmeric? Turmeric como es una artesanal. It's like a lot of things, a lot of similarities. Like when y'all do Ash Friday, Wednesday, cenizas, we have the same things. We do it with, and we put the string around us. We have this string. So that's, yeah.
¿Qué significa eso?
So this is, we do a prayer, it's a ritual in August, and we do it for prosperity, like to keep us safe and for prosperity. I don't know if you noticed, like babies, when they're born, Hindu babies, they always have a black dot. Para el ojo malo, you'll have black pulsera.
Yeah.
So a lot of things that are very similar. So there must be some root of roof of belief that's a protection for the baby. Right? It doesn't matter, it's across all religions. Yes.
Bueno, ¿qué significa?
Oh, so yeah. So my mom's wearing a red one.
Ajá.
So the symbols of matrimony in Hindu culture is you have an amulet, which I'm not wearing. Yeah, so in the ceremony per se, the rings are Western culture. We don't have rings. So we have the bindi, your husband puts a bindi on your forehead, and the red symbolizes that you married. If you wear a black dot, you're either a widow or a single woman. So a single woman, it's important to have the black because when you out in public, if somebody sees you and they want to make a match with you, right? So that's how they make arranged marriages. So that's how they know you are single. A widow will wear a white sari and a black dot. So that's how you know she's not available for marriage. The red dot means you married. So la mamá no va a acercar a su mamá para vamos a casarse la hijos, right? So that's the bindi, the symbol of the bindi. We also wear a
¿Y eso
yellow
que tiene
string.
usted? Mire,
Yes, the fancy. Ahora de las chicas con more fashion, we want to use all colors, right? That's me. But my husband, when he married me, he put a red dot, yeah. And then we have an amulet that comes from it's in the shape. So the shape of the amulet, the end of a string, is the symbol of the family you're marrying into, right? Also the nose ring. The nose ring is a symbol of the family you come from, the shape of it. So the tribal shape, like the el tribu. So when you're very young girl, you put a nose ring and it has the shape of your family, your grandparents.
¿tu mamá tiene?
No, mi mamá no la tiene. No la quiso. I put it to symbolize the birth of my son. So it's when you see Hindu women from India, I'm South African, remember. It's like everything, even the dress code, like they cover their hair, the way they drape the sari is based on the tribes, on what they've learned and why they have that. They have different things. So South African Indians, I tell you, like we took our tata abuelos cultura y religión y la adaptaron para vida surafricana. So let me go back to my South African. So that's my South African Hinduism. It's very different from India Hinduism. Yes.
Gandhi era de Sudáfrica también.
Okay, yes. So Mahatma Gandhi is not South African. He is from India. He was from the Brahmin caste. He was very well educated. And he came to South Africa in a very important part of the Hindus in South Africa history. So in 1850, South Africa and India was the part of the British colony, right? Part of Queen Victoria, Mountbatten. And they were going through a recession, economic recession. There was no jobs in India. And they had this colony that was producing sugar. So what they told the Indians, I'm going to give you a job. It was called indentured labor. It wasn't slavery. I'm going to give you a house and food to eat, but you have to work for me for 5 years in the sugar plantation. So a lot of Indians, thousands of Indians came to South Africa by a boat to work in sugar plantations. And while they were there, the white English started to ill-treat them. So even after 5 years, they couldn't get out of the indentured labor contract. Or they had to pay to get out of the contract. Because the English realized that once the Indian came out of the indentured labor contract, they were very successful. They became educated, they became merchants, they became doctors, engineers, and the English wanted to have control over them. So they put on this tax that if you want to be free, you have to pay. So Mahatma Gandhi was traveling to South Africa to defend a case for a merchant, for Indian merchant in the tribunal. At the same time, the Hindus in South Africa were rallying and they formed the National Indian Congress in South Africa to go against the South African whites and fight the system. So Mahatma Gandhi, being an educated Indian, goes to Pietermaritzburg and tries to take a train on a first class ticket. He was educated, he was like, I'm taking a train, I have the money, I'm going to get onto first class. But at that time, there was this racial divide in South Africa called apartheid. So Indians could not ride a first class carriage. So they threw him off the train. So he joins with the National Indian Congress because he was educated and becomes their portavoz, becomes their voice, and fights against the British Empire for Indians. When he goes back to India, he continues the fight. And he starts his starvation, he starts the salt march, he starts a lot of things, he mobilizes the Indians in India. But the ultimate agenda of Mahatma Gandhi was actually to become a British citizen. So he was fighting, his agenda was, I want all Indians to become British citizens because we fought many wars for the English. So that was his agenda. It wasn't because he wanted to fight for the South African Indians. He just so happened to be in South Africa when the South African Indians were mobilizing against the British Empire. So he takes that movement, that mobilization back to India and starts a bigger movement. And that's how they get independence. So there's two different thoughts on Mahatma Gandhi also. So in some aspects in the Brahmin caste, he's a hero. He was a hero. He dealt with, bringing down the British Empire and all of that. But in the lower caste, he didn't address the issue of caste. They don't see him as a hero because he didn't address this. He kept the status quo in India. No, he was a Brahmin. He treated women. That's why he never won the Nobel Peace Prize. You know that, right? No. Mahatma Gandhi never won it because maltrataron mujeres, maltrataron castas menor de él. That's the reason why. Yeah, he's never been awarded a Nobel Peace Prize or any prize a nivel mundial para traer liberación a los hindús, a India. Sí. Oh no, so I learned this because Mahatma Gandhi was my hero too. I learned this by talking to a very learned scholar here in Puerto Rico. There's a very famous professor, her name is Nalini Nataraj. She's a Gandhi guru. She's very learned about Gandhi, and she actually talked to me about these two different schools of thought about Gandhi in India. I didn't even know because I came from South Africa, and for us in South Africa, he's a hero. We have statues. We have a hospital named after him. He's like, a famous hero because he fought for the independence of Indians in South Africa. But in India, because he did fight the English and he did bring independence, but when they got independence, he didn't have the courage. That's why he was assassinated. The Hindu fundamentalists, the Brahmin fundamentalists, killed him because he was going to try to address the same with Bobby Kennedy or JFK, trying to address these issues, these very startling social differences. And the same thing with his daughter, Indira Gandhi. She was trying to bring back, try to collapse the caste system. And the fundamentalist Hindus don't want that because they have all the riches, the power. So it's a big struggle. Modi in India right now is having a lot of difficulty because the grassroots organizations are really mobilizing and trying to tumble that system. Right? Yeah.
Hay un concepto que nosotros que está en las religiones que hemos estudiado, que es el concepto de cuando tú haces mal, te arrepientes y Dios te perdona, ¿verdad? Hay algo parecido aparte de la cuestión del rito que purifica en el hinduismo.
Yes. So yeah, so we believe that if you do a bad act, you can do penance. So there's like there's different levels, right? You can do fasting, you can do, some people do this Caminata de Santiago. Every March it is, you have to do that, but you always know that you won't be born again as a human. The reincarnation is not going to be to the level of if you're a pure human being. That's why Hindus live by trying to be as pure as possible. They're very conscious of this all the time. Very conscious. But Hindus do bad harm, and they do penance, yes. In the belief that they will be born again as a human being. Yes.
I still have the struggle. You're born into humanity, and then you misbehave and get reincarnated
As anything else.
as anything else.
Yes,
So that means that you have degraded your past.
exactly. You've done something in your lifetime that you've degraded your heart.
You attain humanity, now you've lost.
Yes. It's hard. That's why we always say, like, don't kill the butterfly. It could be a grandmother. Don't kill. And I think that's the root of vegetarianism also. You know, the belief that you will be reincarnated into an animal or a fish or a bird, and that comes the root of the vegetarianism in Hinduism. You know, there's a difference, but I've seen images, I've seen texts where they talk about Hindus eating fish and deer and hunting, and so it contradicts that belief. And there's lots of scriptures, lots of studies about vegetarianism in Hinduism. Yeah. It's a big discussion. There's lots of people like myself, we're scientists, but we struggle with the non-explainable issues in our religion. So we have a lot of discussions, we talk, and the good thing about Hinduism is that you can mold it to what you want, right? You don't have to follow this very strict book or scripture to say that you're a Hindu. So for example, the South African Indians have captured or maintained the rituals from our great grandparents, and a lot of Hindus now in India, like, they don't slaughter animals. It's like taboo in India right now. Right? But Hindus in South Africa continue to slaughter animals, like life for life, as a means of sacrifice, as a means of giving to God. And in India, that's evolved. That's become something more like a taboo. So it's like different schools of thought and different evolution of Hinduism.
Yep.
But one of the things that Nalini writes about in the diaspora of Hindus all over the world, because there's Hindus all over the world based on the English Commonwealth of the English.
Nations.
Yes, so all the colonies of the English, there's Hindus living there right now. And like Trinidad and Tobago has totally gone away from Hinduism. There's a lot of Indian people living in Trinidad and Tobago, but they're not Hindus. Versus South Africa and UK, they continue to maintain the religion. So there's a very book called the Atlantic Gandhi. I don't know if it's maybe in Norberto, in a libreria Norberto
González.
It's there. She's the author. She's a Puerto Rican professor in the English Literature department in Upere. So she studied Gandhi a lot, and she talks about Hinduism throughout the Atlantic. Because it's Suriname, Guyana, Trinidad, Tobago, Jamaica, a lot of all the islands have Hindus, but not America. It's funny. So all the islands.
Not in America.
Not in America. British didn't colonize except for Boston, Philadelphia, por allá arriba. But they didn't colonize.
Hay muchos indios en Estados Unidos.
No, pero se refiere a América, continente, Suramérica.
Yeah,
A la
those.
excepción
So,
de British Guyana, porque era británica.
Britannica, all the
Ahí hay
British
Hindus.
islands have Hindus, like US Virgin Islands, St. Thomas,
Los British
Barbados. Yeah, all of them have Hindus. Indians from India. The USA, United States and Canada have Indians from India, but they came later. That wave came because they were educated, because they had some skill that the United States allowed them to come. But it wasn't like they came as indentured laborers. No, United States didn't have indentured Indians. All the islands and the colonies in the South, yes, they did. They did have indentured Indians.
Los indios en América vienen después de que India es libre, es independiente. El resto de los indios vienen con el Imperio Británico.
Yes.
A todas estas islas. Y se convirtieron en merchants.
Sí.
En mercantes.
Mercantes.
La-
Sí.
Sí, pero también porque importa. Ok, también mantuvieron. No, pero no me refiero a eso. No es fácil. Mantuvieron las tradiciones británicas de importar y exportar, como las compañías británicas de marítimas. Los indios son los que las mantienen en estas islas.
So one of the things that so how did I learn about Hinduism? From very, very young ages, we do chanting, we do meditation, we do prayer. Every single inner home has a shrine. And in that shrine, we have images of God, right? Some are idols, like an idol of an elephant, an idol of Shiva. It's in a clay form normally. Now it's become modern, became brass and steel and gold and all of this. But it used to be in a clay form, and it's an image of God, right? And where did the images come from? Books and stories, right? So as a Hindu learning the religion, I didn't know anything else. I didn't know any other religion. I just knew Hinduism because my parents practiced Hinduism, my grandparents too. And so I learned Hinduism through rituals and storytelling. Not because I read a book, not because I studied Hinduism. I'm not an expert in this, yes.
Not because you went to a church.
No.
Because there is no hierarchy like there might be in some of the other religions.
No. Not because I went to a church. So normally communities will build a temple with their different idols and stuff, where the community would get together. But Hinduism starts in the house, in your home with your parents. It doesn't start with your community. It goes into community as you get older, like they'll do like annual rituals or the penance activity, or it will be at a temple. But every day practicing Hinduism is in your home. It's not in a temple, yes.
Yo noto de que las personas de India, las mujeres específicamente, se visten con ropa de muchos colores, muy vivos. ¿Es alguna costumbre? ¿Es algo de casta o es algo?
No, it's not caste. It's. I think the Hindu religion is so colorful. We use a lot of color in our rituals. A lot of colors, like yellows. We use flowers all the time. Like our offerings, if you're really, really poor in Hindu culture, and you still have to offer to God. So the offerings are flowers. The colors have. I don't think it has any symbolic connection to the religion per se.
Okay.
It's cultural. That's
Es
why.
cultural.
Yeah. I think also because it's fashionable. We all dark skin. But it's got nothing to do with Hindus. Generally are very colorful. All our rituals, all our practices, a lot of color, a lot of people, a lot of color. I guess it's positive energy. So I don't see. And the colors are symbolic. Like if you're a widow, you wear white. You know, if you're a widow, you wear white. It's not like yeah. And so also like attached to color is our weddings. So my last name is Govender. I come from a tribe, and the brides in our last name have to wear the sari that is red and cream. Yeah, so each tribe has a specific color of sari you have to wear on your wedding day. You're getting married into the family. As a bride, you have to wear those colors to say that you accept the family. Yeah, it's like green and beige, red and beige, red and orange. I want to get it. Different colors, all different colors, but it's to do with your tribe. It's tribal. It's not religious.
Hay diferencia entre los indios del norte de India y los indios del sur de India.
Mucho. So they are Hindus, but they have different languages. So sometimes we can be really racista. Hay mucho racismo in India. No solamente caste. So the North Indians are fairer skinned. They have mezcla con Arabs, like the Mongoloids and the Arabs, North Indians. They're very fair. They have blue eyes, green eyes, all the different colors, very Caucasian. And the South Indians live very close to the equator, so very dark skin. Más conexión con Africa. So you have lots of curly hair, very dark skin, mostly agriculture, because the lands in the south are more fertile, like el sur de Puerto Rico, right? So, yes.
Yo tengo una hermana que vivió en India más de un año.
Okay.
Y dice que los indios del norte debe desconfiar más de ellos y debe desconfiar más de los indios del sur.
It's true.
Voy así, de verdad.
It's
El hecho de que yo ni sé del sur no es nada.
Tranquila.
No,
No,
it's
es que los del
true, it's
sur,
true.
que son más éticos.
Yes.
Más
Éticos.
Más éticos. Okay, I'll tell you why. So I've read about this because in South Africa, it's very obvious. So like I'm a Tamil speaking Hindu in South Africa. My my grandparents also would not have allowed me to marry a not Hindi speaking northern Hindu. No, because culturally we are so different. Like we speak different languages, we write different letters. Our religion is Hindu, but our practices are so different, like very, very different. The Hindus from North India tend to be maceta, tend to be maclos, que usan a ti para cualquier cosa y después lo botan, no le importa. And there's lots of writings about anthropological research on this because they were invaded more frequently from the north than South Indians. The South Indians are more trusting. South Indians lo abren su puerta, lo invitan a su casa, comparte, no hay problemas. But the people in the north were always warring, they were always at war with the Chinese, with the Arabs, with the Mongoloids, with the de todo, Russians, de todo. So they were not very trusting. And they have this mentality like make a quick buck and out. And that translates, it also comes to South Africa like that. The Hindi speaking people are very different from the Tamil speaking people.
Y la
It's
gente
true.
de Sri Lanka se parece más a la India del sur.
Yes, because it's an island just off the south part of India. So yeah, they come from the root Dravidians, so they are very similar. They also speak a lot of Tamil. They look very similar to us, but they are Sinhalese. So they have a little bit mixture, like a Creole Tamil that they speak. Yeah. Sri Lanka is very close, and at one stage it was connected to India. It was connected to India. Yes.
It just so happens that the head of the Passionist congregation, Passionist Catholic congregation, is from India. His father, John Rago.
Okay.
And I used to thought it was kind of, strange for me that the person who was brought up in the Hindu religion became a Catholic and leads the congregation right now. And talking to him, he came to Puerto Rico to visit the parishes here. He was telling me that there is some sort of limits to what you can do in India regarding foreign religion like Christianity or Muslim. You have all types of problems with the Muslims, but that's society, big problems. He was telling me, for example, in the Holy Week, Semana Santa, when they would do the procession, they couldn't do it in the streets. They had to go around the church. Is there something that it was in Bombay at the time? It was a priest, a parish priest there. Is there any thing that the government emphasizes not to do with Christianity?
My impression, I visited India several times. I think it's not like that. Maybe it could have been at that time. So a lot of Christians were Hindus originally, right? And they move away from Hinduism towards Christianity because it was easier to be a Christian than to be a Hindu. Hindu is every day. You have to do rituals, you have to pray, versus Christianity, you go to church once a week. So it's much easier, it's less complex, like you have less struggles as an educated being to understand Christianity than to understand Hinduism. So it's very much easier, and it has the freedoms of eating meat, and it seems to be a religion that's liberal versus Hinduism. Obviously, Hindus don't want to, Hindu priests. So when you go to India right now, currently, Hinduism culture has become a business, like the Catholic Church, right? More properties, more money, you collect money from your parishioners, the same story. So if you're losing parishioners, you're losing money for your temple.
Well, it depends on how you live your religion.
Of course.
Because we follow Catholicism, for
Right.
example, our religion, we're supposed to pray every day, 4 times a day. And that's what's in the book.
Right.
Very few people do it.
Very few people do it.
So
Even in
it's
South Africa.
behaving is the same thing. We have to
Absolutely.
behave in a way as not to be the Catholic Church to be shameful of all the behavior and things to do. So it's everything is in the person, the human being. how you behave,
How you behave, exactly.
what your values are.
Voy a hacer son las 5 y son las 5
Y yo tengo un compromiso
de la tarde, quiero ser responsable con el tiempo, ha pasado bien rápido, así que queremos darle las gracias a Yogar. Un compromiso era de la universidad.
En Montijerda, sí.
En promoción. Así que nada, la excusamos. Quiero
¿Cómo te pasa?
mencionarles algo rapidito al grupo con relación a lo que nos ha planteado Yogari y la responsabilidad que se tiene con los actos. Que en el caso de ellos, los actos determinan mucho, pero es que en el cristianismo, en el islam y el judaísmo, hemos visto que también significa mucho.
Sí.
O sea, lo que tú haces acá tiene un efecto en lo que ocurre allá, ya sea en la eternidad, ya sea en la reencarnación. Así que la próxima reunión va a ver con lo que nosotros podemos o debemos o tenemos que hacer aquí. En el cristianismo, en el judaísmo, los 10 mandamientos, cristianismo, el sermón del monte, y en el islam, los 5 pilares del islam y cómo se ha interpretado. De eso que vamos a hablar juntos, un poquito, y principalmente con la vista del rabino.
Sí,
Pues será el próximo sábado. Rabino, si nos da tiempo esto otro, y luego la última, ética y la vista del museo. ¿Está bien?
Las dos próximas están extendiendo la para hacer schedule. La vas a extender porque tienen
Pues media hora.
Psicología, pero eso es la decana de
Bueno, pues gracias a todos.
Sorry.
Oye,